Hello everyone. I wanted to shoot this short video today to talk about a practice called resourcing. Basically what resourcing is it's utilizing stabilizing factors within our body and within our environment to help our self-regulate our autonomic nervous system. Regulation and grounding and stabilization, what that does is actually makes it so we can actually process some of the stress that we're feeling, but do it in a way where we are slowing things down, do it in a way where we're feeling safe and grounded within our body, and actually creating a slower process of tapping into some of that survival energy that we usually experience as stress, anxiety, overwhelm, shutting down, spiraling thoughts around situations that we don't have control over, and even relationship dynamics that are just continue to recycle hurt or anger or frustration or emotions that maybe we haven't been able to fully get the handle of and feel safe and comfortable actually relating to and processing within our body. So you're going to see this process of resourcing that I'm going to go through as a way of starting to engage in your felt experience, finding aspects of your body that are in regulation, creating a sense of slowing down and stability in your body, and then being able to tap into some of the feelings and experiences around stress and overwhelm and big emotions in a way where we're actually processing them in our physical body through our nervous system rather than through the orientation externally to the events that are creating our overwhelm. So usually the way that we deal with events is we try to figure out the problem and we try to figure out solutions and we try to figure out ways to get control over the situation. So we're looking to know what is wrong, what's happening, and what that does is it actually makes us go into a place where we're really overwhelmed and we're continuously recycling situations and dynamics that we don't have control over. What we're looking at is how can we regain control over our nervous system response, our physical responses and emotional responses in our body to learn how to regulate those so we can begin to actually release and let go of some of those external things that are causing us to feel triggered or overwhelmed. So it's looking at our body's response as the solution rather than those external situations as the solution to our problems. What you'll probably notice and see is that we have a lot of control over what's happening inside through our nervous system, and we have little control over what's happening externally. So it's basically creating a choice that we have whether we want to go externally towards our problems or we want to find solutions within ourselves and through regulating our body and our nervous system. So the first thing that I try to do when I'm resourcing is I try to make contact with my body. So I think contact can also be gained through our environment as well. So that's something you can think of is that when you're resourcing, you can resource your current environment, use your eyes, notice what's happening around you, just bring yourself into the present moment. The environment right now, if you're here watching this video, then it's a safe environment. Most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, our environment right now is safe. So we can use it as a resource. Also, you can resource your physical body as well, and that's something that I'm more prone to doing is to just putting my hand on a place in my body where I start to notice that it feels safe and making physical contact with my hand on my body. My favorite thing to do is to put my hand on my chest. Sometimes I put my hand on my thighs or my legs to help myself connect with the ground. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is just make contact. And then what I start to do is try to notice some of the natural rhythms of my body. So this is a way of slowing everything down. We're slowing down our thoughts, and we're starting to engage in maybe some of the more natural and slower rhythms of our autonomic nervous system. What this does is actually engages our parasympathetic nervous system, which is meant to slow everything down. So when we are in our sympathetic nervous system, everything starts speeding up. Our body starts to mobilize in order for us to actually protect ourselves or keep ourselves safe. So by noticing slower rhythms in our body, what we're actually doing is we're starting to regulate some of that sympathetic response. Okay. So through noticing my breathing patterns, I may also notice my heart rate, if it's just a natural resting heart rate. I think grounding is another thing that we want to resource too. We want to notice our feet on the ground, notice our weight in the chair, noticing the strength of our legs. And that is how we start to engage in maybe some of those slower rhythms. Another part of that we can utilize is actually noticing the areas and aspects of our felt experience that are more settled and relaxed. So right now I just noticed that my legs and my feet are really relaxed. It's a place that I can start to resource. Another thing that I'm noticing is my chest is pretty open and relaxed. So that's another place that I can resource. Okay, so what we're doing is just creating a lot of engagement with the aspects of our experience that are more settled, the aspects of our experience that are more stable, and those slower rhythms of our body. Then what I try to do, and I think this is a very important step, is to start to engage with how I'm noticing my stress in my physical felt experience of my body. So I might notice tension in my chest. I might notice my solar plexus clenching. I might feel shakiness in a certain area of my body. And so what we've done there is we've used resourcing and connecting with our physical experience to help to stabilize and slow things down and ground. And then what we're starting to do is to start to touch into some of those feelings, physical feelings in our body in relation to our stress. So we're starting to engage that stress in our body and actually tracking the physical sensation of that stress in our body. This is the way that we engage in our autonomic nervous system. Okay, so what I try to do is just take some time to really sit with how I'm noticing the tension in my body, starting to feel the relationship with the tension and my physical felt experience. I think from there, once we feel like we've got a little more resolution, a little more grounding, or we're feeling really present, what we can start to do is start to engage a little bit more in that identification or the mental process around both our physical experience and our emotions in an event. Okay, so what I might start to do is just start to notice that based on what I'm going through, based on the event, I may be feeling a sense that I'm hurt, or I'm not enough, or I'm wrong, or maybe that I'm not respected in the relationship, or I might be afraid and nervous in the situation. And so what I'm starting to do is that instead of going externally towards all the ins and outs of the situation and kicking up all of my emotional reactions to the point where what I'm going to start to experience is a sense of overwhelm, and that relationship with that mental and emotional replaying of the situation is what takes me into a place where I'm going full blown into my survival physiology, and I'm starting to go past the threshold for which I can actually process what I'm feeling in my autonomic nervous system. So through this process of resourcing and creating stability in my body, what I'm actually starting to do is beginning to identify and give my emotions and my feelings a place and a reason and a purpose for being there. And then I'm also creating a process where I'm starting to validate that experience, but I'm not validating it through the overwhelming situation. I'm validating it through my physical body, and I'm allowing my body and my emotions to move through my physical responses within my nervous system. And so this is where, through giving our emotions a place in relation to the event, we start to create that process of validation. And so what I'll do is I'll just start to put my hand on where I feel the emotion in my body, how I feel it physically, and allow myself to start to process through that sensation. And I think since we've created such a solid foundation for resourcing and slowing things down, what starts to happen is that I can start to feel and experience that emotion in my body, but I'm still really connected to those slower rhythms of my parasympathetic nervous system. So I'm going to be more prone to processing that emotion, but actually feeling how my body is starting to rest, how my body is starting to settle, how it's starting to kind of weave into some of those experiences where before I spent time grounding. And what I'm going to start to do is actually release and create resolution around that emotion. And that's a process of starting to validate my experience, and actually feeling the result of me being there for myself and validating my experience in relation to an external event. And so that's where we start to create a boundary, we start to create a bigger threshold, we start to create a greater capacity to be with and feel our emotions. And then we also create more resilience because we're able to take in kind of more of our experience and not be thrown off. And what that leads to in my life is that I can go and interact with people and situations. I can be triggered and I'll know what to do next time. I'll know how to soothe and calm myself down, and I'll be less impacted by these events that are occurring in my life. So I hope that you can use this practice or even components of this practice in your life. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, thank you. Bye.